There's a massive chemical deception likely sitting right inside your pantry this very second. We're talking about the olive oil industry. You probably think you're buying a premium, health-boosting elixir, but the reality of mass-produced blends is way more fascinating, and honestly, far more alarming than you could ever imagine. In this explainer, we're skipping all the fluff and focusing strictly on the biological and chemical differences between authentic extra virgin olive oil and the mass-produced fraud dominating our supermarket shelves.
The sheer scale of this problem is just staggering. Based on a landmark UC Davis study, massive Italian government investigations, and a bunch of class action lawsuits, a whopping 73% of top-selling extra virgin olive oil brands completely failed to meet basic sensory and chemical standards. Think about that for a second. Nearly 3/4 of the market. You're paying a premium for an entirely fabricated illusion of health. Most of these top brands barely even qualify as olive oil, let alone extra virgin.
To truly grasp why this matters for your longevity, we've got to look at the underlying science of polyphenols, specifically a miraculous compound called oleocanthal. This stuff is the absolute holy grail of olive oil chemistry. It's a wildly powerful antioxidant and neuroprotective agent. Inside your body, it basically acts like a targeted microscopic fire extinguisher for cellular inflammation. It actually mimics ibuprofen to improve heart and brain health, and clinical studies even suggest it might destroy cancer cells. But here's the catch. It is incredibly fragile. The moment that oleocanthal is depleted through poor processing or just sitting around too long, the oil becomes biologically garbage.
And the crazy part is, you can actually taste this physical difference. True, polyphenol-rich extra virgin olive oil is living chemistry. It's got this distinct, potent, peppery bite at the back of your throat. That bite, that's the literal physical sensation of oleocanthal at work. Mass market blends, on the other hand, are effectively dead liquids. They're oxidized, completely flat, and entirely stripped of all those medical benefits. Think of authentic EVOO as a fully charged battery powering your cellular health, while the mass-produced stuff is a battery that completely drained its charge long before you ever put it in your shopping cart.
So let's track how this chemical degradation actually happens, because processing methods are literally everything here. Brands like Pompeian and Star aren't just pressing local olives. No, they're sourcing olives from up to 11 different countries across multiple continents. Just imagine the timeline. You've got harvesting, extended global shipping, industrial blending, and then that oil just sits on a supermarket shelf, sometimes for over a year. By the time you crack open that bottle, prolonged exposure to light, heat, and air has guaranteed total oxidation. Every single clinical benefit has been entirely erased.
Let's name some names. When the UC Davis Olive Center ran their groundbreaking sensory and chemical tests, the failure rates for household names were breathtaking. Pompeian, which is the best-selling olive oil brand in the U.S., failed an unbelievable 94% of the time. That means only 1 in 18 bottles would actually pass a basic extra virgin taste test. Filippo Barrio failed 83% of the time. And Bertolli, a brand now owned by a huge Spanish conglomerate despite all that heavy Italian marketing, failed 72% of the time.
But honestly, it gets worse. Worse than just being biologically dead, investigations into these massive conglomerates have uncovered some absolute nightmare realities. We're talking about severe adulteration here. They found unusually high levels of mineral oil residues and even traces of pesticides in some Filippo Barrio products. Plus, there are serious allegations and lawsuits out there claiming that brands like Star are cutting their olive oil with cheap canola oil, and that Pompeian has mixed in rapeseed oil, all while still slapping an extra virgin label right on the bottle. So you aren't just missing out on polyphenols, you could be actively ingesting cheap industrial fillers.
And if you're thinking, okay, I'll just pivot to my trusted grocery store staples, well, think again. Walmart's Great Value is a 7-country blend utterly devoid of that peppery medical benefit, earning a pretty dismal 2 out of 5 from Consumer Reports. Target's Good & Gather scored exactly the same, flagged by reviewers for lacking any real fruit flavor, which is a classic textbook sign of heat damage and oxidation. And Safeway's Signature Select? They actually lost a 2014 lawsuit for falsely claiming their multi-country blend was strictly made in Italy.
Okay, so how do we fix this? Let's shift our focus to the markers of clinical authenticity, the scientifically validated oils. We're going to look at the exact requirements you need to demand to guarantee you're buying biologically superior, truly authentic extra virgin olive oil.
To ensure the oil you're buying is actively protecting your cells, you need to look for what we call the medical grade standard. First up, strictly single-sourced origin, absolutely no multi-country blending.
You also want clearly printed harvest and press dates right there on the bottle, not just some arbitrary, meaningless expiration date. The really transparent brands will often verify their polyphenol and acidity levels on the label too. And crucially, you've got to look for rigorous third-party testing certifications from respected groups like the Olive Oil Commission of California or Bureau Veritas.
So here's your prescription. These are 5 scientifically validated brands that are actually doing it right. California Olive Ranch is basically the gold standard in the US right now. They even give you a QR code to track precise batch polyphenol data, which is awesome. Down in Australia, Cobram Estate uses modern cold pressing techniques to deliver a product packed with supreme oleocanthal content. Then you have Graza, offering incredible single-season Spanish harvest with a naturally high smoke point. And don't sleep on Aldi. Their specially selected Sicilian oil offers certified Italian origin packed in UV-protected dark glass, perfectly preserving the living chemistry inside.
Now, if you're sitting there thinking that premium medicinal-grade chemistry has to completely break the bank, 28 cents. That's it. That is the cost per ounce for Costco's Kirkland Signature Organic Extra Virgin Olive Oil. It's fully certified by Bureau Veritas, features full country of origin traceability, and includes exact harvest and press dates. It is absolute proof that you can get perfect, pristine, high polyphenol purity for a genuinely accessible price.
And the quality of these authentic oils is so profoundly different from the mass-produced sludge that it literally changes how you use them. The biological quality of that Aldi specially selected Sicilian oil we just talked about is so pristine and so naturally creamy that culinary critics and everyday consumers are quite literally using it as a functional health supplement. They are stirring it directly into their morning coffee. I mean, you would never dream of doing that with a rancid oxidized blend from one of those 94% failure rate brands, right?
So the crucial point we're leaving you with today is this: knowing the actual science of polyphenols and knowing how deeply those processing methods dictate the biological value of what you consume, you really have to ask yourself a question. Go check your pantry right now. Seriously, look at the bottle you've been cooking with. Is that oil actively fighting inflammation and acting as real medicine for your cells? Or have you just been sold an oxidized, expensive illusion? Check those labels, look for the harvest dates, and start treating your olive oil like the vital health investment it truly is.